Civic initiative concerned People Let's Unite. Powered by Vladislav Krivobokov, co-chairman of Coordination Board of the Eurasian Union Public Organizations. Presents Ukraine 2015. The plot is fictional. Today on June 22, 2015, the fierce battles for the hero city Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, are still going on. Last week, the armed groups of civilians calling themselves the Eastern Liberation Corps, the ELC, mostly formed from the volunteers of Donbass and Sloboda, won a number of significant victories over the enemy forces. So on June 17, the military groupings of the Western Dictatorship Resistance Committee were knocked out from Poltava. On June 19, the city of Cherkasy was occupied by the ELC forces. On June 20, Chernihiv was taken after 2 days of the ELC's continuous attacks. On June 21, the ELC forces entered Kiev, where today, according to recent data, they forced the groups of the Western Dictatorship Resistance Committee back from the city core towards Svetoshinsk and Galasevsk districts. No one is counting the number of the dead and wounded anymore. Communication lines in Kiev are significantly damaged. In practice, the internet, mobile or fixed communications are inoperative. The bridges connecting the left and right banks of the Dnieper are blown up. Tap water is undrinkable and the main Kiev reservoirs are poisoned by the retreating forces. The city has problems with food and medicines. Civilians prefer to stay inside of their apartments. Groups of looters are shooting out with each other, occupying appliances, warehouses, supermarkets, shopping malls and jewelry stores. The Ministry of Internal Affairs, Security Service of Ukraine, the armed forces of Ukraine have become dysfunctional organizations left without top officials that had rapidly fled the country together with the state leaders. Mass desertion of soldiers has left the military installations and ammunition stores unguarded, allowing almost every Ukrainian to be armed to the teeth. In such circumstances, policemen simply refuse to do their jobs at the law enforcement bodies. On top of that, the soldiers, military officers and the police are rotating between the sides of the conflict, joining to the civil armed groups and take an active part in their actions. According to our data tonight, the so-called interim government, proclaiming itself the new power, has left all administrative buildings of Kiev and presumably moved to Lvov. As is known, the former government, which was legitimately elected, is also absent in Kiev. According to unofficial sources, the president of Ukraine is also outside the territory of the country. Several times a day, the main TV channels, as well as the radio, are broadcasting the personal comments of the convicted Prime Minister of Ukraine regarding the events when the so-called rebels seized the building of Verkhovna Rada and the presidential administration. Until recently, by the decision of the European Court, she was under the supervision of German doctors in Athos hospital located in Munich. The former Prime Minister was planning to come back after she had been supported by the European Parliament to introduce NATO forces into Ukraine. However, for the first time over many years, on June 21, the premier in disfavor felt the land of Ukraine under her feet in the airport named after Stepan Bandera in Lvov, where she immediately declared the UN resolution to introduce NATO forces would be adopted as soon as possible and the order within the country will be brought back. NATO forces, waiting for the UN resolution, do not stop bringing up its army to the western borders. At the same time, in Sevastopol, the ships of Russian Navy are on high alert. Russian aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov has left Syria setting a course for Crimea. Also, for the purposes to protect the civilians of Russia on the territory of other states, the President of Russia has ordered to deploy separate motorized rifle divisions on the Russian-Ukrainian border near Lugansk region.
Избежать того, что творится сегодня, можно было очень просто.
Everything that is going on today could be simply avoided. The people of Ukraine had to be given the opportunity to resolve on several issues by referendum instead of armed conflicts. The Ukrainian society is split by the question of Russian language as the second state one, as well as the country development vector line between the European and the Eurasian unions.
Да значит, это
Now,
что?
all these issues will be resolved in Washington or Moscow, meaning that soon we will not see Ukraine on the world map. Ukraine 2012. All the facts and figures are real. Only all together we are able to avoid such course of events. It will be the battle between old and new, the battle between good and evil. Only all together we will be able to protect our common home. Only all together we will be able to restore the lost sovereignty. Only all together we will return hope for the justice to the world. And only all together we will be able to live happy life in our common motherland. EU commissioners predict Ukraine entering the European Union at least in 20 years. 20 years is just an a priori abstract date which essentially equals eternity. 20 years is the time period for a generational change. And here is another figure, 65. Approximately in 65 years, the average wage in Poland may equal to the average one in 27 states of the European Union, which it joined in 2004. And some more figures. Less than the average wage of Polish, which is 800 euros, earned by the citizens of Latvia, that is 690 euro, of Lithuania 650, Romania 600 and Bulgaria 400. It's quite obvious that Ukraine will play the lowest level in this pyramid in 20 years, and in fact it will join the ranks of modern slaves servicing the European elite. The highest level of the EU wages have the residents of Luxembourg, more than 4,000 euro, Denmark 3,850 euro, Ireland 3,500 euro, Belgium and Sweden more than 3,000 euro. Do you suppose this is really fair? As for the end of 2012, the average wage in Russia was 22,622 rubles, which is 585 euro. In 2012, this figure is planning to be increased to 25,000 rubles, which is 640 euro. The wages increase in the EU is not assumed. On the contrary, the wages of employees in the public sector far and wide being cut. The number of working places is decreasing as well as the social sphere is putting down. I want to live not in a shanty of the ash heap of history, but in the bright, cozy and big house of eternal peoples. I think that my wishes are simple and similar to the wishes of millions of my compatriots. I say forever to the Union of Eternal Peoples. Vladislav Krivobokov.
Вместе в Евразийский союз.